been so impressed with our team, our city manager, and all of our department heads, really deep diving into budgets where we can really change practices up a little bit and make sure that every dollar spreads as far as possible.
Welcome to Herrimanology,
the official podcast to keep up with Herriman City.
We'll take you inside the city, explore the latest news and updates, show you how your government operates, and discuss the issues that affect us all. Now, here are your hosts talking all things Herriman on Herrimanology.
All right, welcome to Herrimanology. It is Thursday, April 25th. Congratulations to all of you who got to see the great Herriman and South Jordan landspout tornado earlier today. Since I was a kid, I've always wanted to see a tornado. Missed it, but hopefully there'll be a next time without any damage. I'm John LaFollette, Communications Manager for Herriman City, joined today by Councilmember Herriman Ohrn from District 3. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. Thanks for letting me come in today, John.
We had a city council meeting last night. It was a lengthy one. There was a lot discussed. We won't hit on quite everything today, but at least the items of note. The Chamber of Commerce discussion. So Herriman City has participated, as long as I've been here, with the Mountain West Chamber of Commerce. Mm-hmm. And Chamber of Commerce is, they're basically groups of businesses and cities that they participate. They kind of help each other promote businesses and promote the local economy. Herriman City has been kind of mulling over the idea of, do we want to stay with the Mountain West Chamber versus maybe join another more regional group, the South Valley Chamber of Commerce? What have those discussions been like, and what was the decision made last night by the council?
Sure, thanks. Mountain West has been a great partner for us in Herriman. Any business that wants to join any chamber can. It really has nothing to do with whether a business here locally wants to be involved with South Valley or if they want to be with Mountain West. But they really help our city, promote our city, and bring more attention to our city. So we had a decision to make last night. There's one other entity in there, and it's EDC Utah is another entity that we've been paying money to try and focus on economic development in our community, and just to shine the spotlight on Herriman. As you all know, that we really need that tax revenue to try and offset some of our expenses and pay for some roads and some infrastructure, things like that we need. So the decision last night was really based on what's best for our local businesses, but what's best for Herriman in general. And what we decided was Mountain West and South Valley are just very different chambers. Mountain West is very local and very focused and very involved in our community. They have different community events and highlight different things, Night of Heroes, a bunch of different things they do for our local community. Where South Valley is much more regional. They bring in a bigger regional spotlight, which we need also. We need, as we grow and we have different needs, we really will have to have that. EDC Utah has been another partner, but we haven't really seen the value of that partnership. They look for very kind of mega sites and things like that, and there just hasn't been an opportunity to have them utilized in our community very much. And we pay them pretty close to $12,000 a year. And so the fees with Mountain West are $4,000, and the fee with South Valley for the first year is $8,000. And so what we opted to do was to bring in South Valley in addition to Mountain West. So we'll keep our membership with Mountain West for that local feel and that local support. And then we'll bring in South Valley that will really help us get more of a regional spotlight on us. And then we'll just continue spending the $12,000 with EDC Utah. And then that way we save a little bit of money that way too. It's not even a financial neutral, it's a savings on that. So that was the decision that we made to go with.
So basically swapping out the fees for EDC Utah, replacing it effectively with the South Valley Chamber, and see how it goes for the next year or two, right?
Yeah, exactly. Analyze, and I know one of the points made by, I believe, Councilmember Shields was let's just see. You can look at a pamphlet and they can say they can do all these great things for your community, but unless you've really worked with them, you don't know for sure. So this gives us an opportunity to work with them and see if it's really a value add.
There was another voting item for a reimbursement agreement with Edge Homes, who's been working on the Copperfield subdivision over in the northern side of town. Maybe explain what that reimbursement agreement was about and what road it was for.
Sure. So what happens when a development comes in? They usually have to obviously create roads, and so when they come in, and the internal roads in a subdivision are the developer's responsibility to pay for, to build, those types of things. But if a road that is attached to that development will service that development, but is also basically a spine road, something that is part of the city's overall infrastructure that the rest of the city needs also, then the city reimburses the developer for that road. So we have the developer come in and fix the road just along with all the roads they're doing in their subdivision, but then we carve out the portion of it that the city needs to own, and then we reimburse them after the road is done. And so that's what that was. It's through a development agreement. We're bound to that. It's a legal document that we'd have to adhere to. So they turn in their invoices, and then we reimburse them for the cost of that road.
So that cost of their work was about $1.6 million on Herriman Blvd, 126 South. They effectively widened it out to around the Creek Ridge subdivision. Right. But worth noting that $1 million of that came from state funding.
Yes.
That's not something that is at least immediately on our own budget.
Yeah, which is helpful because obviously it's all taxpayer money, but some pockets are a little bigger, and the state tends to have a little bit bigger pockets for transportation spending than Herriman does. So we really appreciate that a lot of that could have been offloaded in that other pocket.
There are a couple of interesting items from the work meeting. We won't go into all of them, but there was a long discussion with the Wasatch South Hills developer. So to put a little bit of context around it, a lot of people are familiar with, let's say, Olympia on the northwestern side of the town. Large-scale development that'll be coming in over on the south end. Some people have heard about Panorama, which is basically a combination of property owners that the developer DAI Utah is trying to work with to kind of consolidate all of those properties. So people might be familiar with those. Wasatch South Hills is also on the south side of Herriman, to the east of Panorama, and they have an existing master development agreement. It's been amended several times over the years, something that comes back to the city council. What was last night's discussion about? Maybe what are some of the items the council might be concerned about, or the things that they're asked to address before the next time this comes up?
Sure. That MDA was put in place, I want to say 2009 was when that was originally adopted, that master development agreement. So there's a lot of those things in that development agreement. I'm really unclear as to why they were decided the way they were, but that is water under the bridge. But one of the elements of that development agreement, it allows them to expand their holdings. So if they have a piece of property that is adjacent to the property they currently own, but they don't own it, in the past they could just go and purchase that property, and it would be automatically become part of the MDA and be entitled to all the things that the MDA allowed them, which is a little frustrating on our end. So part of the frustration with the MDA is that it also has entitlements from 2009, so we've done a lot of code changes and things like that they don't have to adhere to, but they've been a good development partner. A lot of the things that we have upgraded, like the length of your driveway and those kinds of things, they've always been willing to come to the table and help, make some changes so that the development ends up being a nice, good development. One of the things they were doing last night was the Panorama that you referred to. There's a chunk of their property that's in the Panorama, which would make it a little bit misshapen. And so rather than having little pockets of different land, different places, they're going to do some land swapping with DAI, with Panorama, and then so that both properties will be a little more contiguous. So I like that. I think they're great development partners. This went through Planning Commission. Planning Commission had a list of several items that they wanted addressed, and they're going to address those and then bring it back to council again, and we'll have further discussions on that.
Yeah, it'll come back several times, but it is important to know that there are some entitlements in place already, and they're asking to change some of those, and the city council's requesting some things, and it'll come back for more discussion, but it's not coming from a blank slate, if you will.
Super important for people to understand that. I know a lot of people get confused and upset because why are you allowing more density? Why are you allowing those types of things? But like I said, this is an MDA that's been in place since 2009. So that definitely predates everyone on the council. So we just have to work with the agreements that we already have. And when it's open up for an amendment, we throw out ideas and ask for changes and tweak things as we go along and try and make it, you know, a little bit better for our current situation in Herriman.
Yeah. Another interesting item was basically this entire year so far, every city council meeting, there's been a part of the draft city budget that the council has talked about, a few departments at a time that you've gone through. Last night was the Public Works Division, which includes several departments: facilities, streets, street lights, stormwater, water, several budgets there. One discussion that interested me was about pavement management and how the city is doing what it can to invest more in pavement management while the roads are still in relatively good condition. That's not universal around the city, but a lot of our roads are relatively new.
Yeah, Councilmember Shields talked about the asphalt quite a bit. We did a study a couple of years ago, I want to say, and it was quite interesting. Asphalt is about a 7-year lifespan if you do nothing with it. So obviously we want to make sure our roads get maintained so that it costs us as little money as possible to keep them in good repair. I know, I think last year, one of the roads in my area is fairly new because it's a new subdivision, right? And I want to say it was probably like 4 or 5 years old. I can't remember, about 4 years old. And they were kind of doing a little bit of a resurface on it. And people were questioning that. They're like, why are you doing this on a good road? And it was great to be able to tell them, here's why. We want to make sure that these nice newer roads that we have stay maintained so that they don't fall into disrepair and we have to go the route of really expensive, dig them up and put in new asphalt. So that study was also interesting. It told us that we needed about $3 million a year spent on our current roads to really keep them in good repair. Well, $3 million a year is about what our capital expenditures budget even is a year. So it's really difficult to put that all towards that because there are many competing needs in the city. So we're gradually, baby steps, getting up to that point. I think in 2 years from now we'll be pretty close to $2 million. We're kind of getting up to that point. We're just doing some good budget work. I can tell you that I've been so impressed with our team, our city manager, and all of our department heads and teams really deep diving into budgets where we can really change practices up a little bit and make sure that every dollar spreads as far as possible.
There's another item too that at least caught the council's attention was line items for vandalism repair, for street lights, for parks, and something that's kind of frustrating to have to budget for, but that's kind of a reality.
Yeah, I know. I said maybe you can do a podcast on Monday morning and go out to our parks, because our assistant city manager, Wendy Thomas, she said, yeah, you guys should see what they look like on Monday mornings, these park bathrooms and things like that, because trash and, just vandals, basically. Even the park right here at Crane Park is closed right now because the bathrooms are, because of vandalism. And it's just senseless waste of taxpayer money, because we have to go in and repair that and fix that, and it's completely preventable. We just have to treat it with respect. Don't vandalize it, and if you have trash, pick it up. Just take care of things so that you can, same as you would in your own home, I guess. Just take care of things. And then another really interesting one, I wanted to say that they said like 30 street lights would be hit a year, and I was like, what? People are just crashing into the street lights, I guess. So, and again, that's another big ticket item that the taxpayers have to pay for, is replacing these street lights. So just be more careful, quit crashing into street lights, and just pick up after ourselves in the parks. We can just do so much towards reducing expenses as taxpayers, because it's our money that's getting spent. So we need to work hard towards doing the little things that will really help us not spend it. I would also put a plug in there for our just the processes that are being put in place by our staff. I've just been so impressed with the work that's going into this budget year. I know in the Public Works, they were tasked with creating a schedule for our vehicles. to make sure that we are really keeping our vehicles as long as is expedient, so that we get the full use out of them, but we get good value out of them at the end, so that we stay right on the edge of making sure that we're utilizing those vehicles to the best way possible. So I love it. It gives me confidence when I look at a line item on a budget and it says we need a new vehicle. I know it had to go through this process, a very detailed process, to help us understand, yes, it's time, we really do need that vehicle. So just kudos to our staff and our department heads for really digging into that budget, because it's taxpayer money and we're trying to be really responsible with it.
Yeah. The budget will be available for public inspection next week. And then on May 8th is scheduled for the council to vote on that becoming a tentative budget, which basically means this is what the city is proposing. Public, take a look at it and let us know in early June when it's up for final adoption, if you have any issues or questions or anything like that. So the public's going to have a little over a month to be able to see the budget, digest it, and ask for or provide any feedback to the city council. So that is coming up here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and I thanks for putting that plug in. I know we have a lot of times after the fact, people will be upset about, oh, the way this fee was or the way that fee was, but the time that you have to really voice your opinion on that and really give good input on that is during that time, right? All of these discussions have been had in our work meetings, which are recorded and available. So if you have questions, go back and listen to the work meetings that are pertaining to those different categories in the budget, and really understand why we're looking at the things we are, and the processes that we're going through to make sure things are being done correctly.
Yeah. So Herriman.org/finance or Herriman.org/budgets. You can find links to it on either of those pages in coming days. And one last thing, too, that caught, I think, everyone's attention. We were talking about the spring cleanup that happened last week.
Yes.
There was a lot of participation in that. Saturday, they said alone, brought 1,100 people to Butterfield Park. I don't know how they got through so many people. Probably made quite a big pile of garbage and green waste, but good on the residents for taking advantage of that.
Oh, it's so great. I had to drive by Butterfield Park Monday morning, and the mountain of branches was just like, oh my gosh, look at all the branches that are there. And even this morning, they're still trying to get it all hauled off and cleaned up out of there, and it was really interesting, exactly the level of participation on that. And it's funny because I serve on the Wasatch Front Waste and Recycling Board, and we have the scrap program, which they bring trailers to your home and things like that. And it's interesting to listen to the feedback from other communities that don't offer that from their own community, that only are dependent on WFRA to bring those trailers. And I just say, kudos to Herriman for really offering that, because it really helps to keep our community clean. The other program helps as a backup, but I'm grateful that people really took advantage of that program, because it really is for the residents to help, just keep our environments clean and our city looking great. Yeah.
All right, that's all for today. Thank you, Councilmember Ohrn, for coming in.
Yeah.
There's a lot to go over today, but hammered through it, and hopefully you listening or watching found that useful and enjoyable. Thank you for listening, and as always, leave a question or a comment on whatever platform you're listening or watching on, and we will catch you next time.